The other day, an email appeared in my inbox out of the blue. It was announcing new firmware for the Z6iii, and it was version 2.0, so it sounds like quite a step up from the version 1.11 that I updated this camera to a couple of weeks ago on that previous video. That one was really disappointing, and I didn't bother updating it until several weeks after it was actually released. And to be honest, I only did it for that video. Whereas this time, Nikon have promised 71 new features. So let's have a look at the Nikon website to see what we get with that update to 2.0. The headlines are bird subject for autofocus, there's an auto capture mode, and there is a C15 mode. So the high speed capture where you previously had C30, 60 and 120. Now there's a 15 mode as well, so you get pre-release capture and things like that with it too. So why don't we have a look at these in a little bit more detail, but first I need to update my firmware. So today the first thing that we want to do on our camera is come into our menu and come to Imaging Cloud. As you can see, we are connected to the Nikon Imaging Cloud, which means that, as you can see above the settings here, we have an option for new firmware. So we can come into here, we can see that we're currently on 1.11, and we can update from Nikon Imaging Cloud, and that will take us from 1.11 to 2. So what this will do is download the update directly onto my camera, install it, and have everything ready for me. It's definitely the easiest option for updating firmware on the newer Nikon cameras, the Z6iii, the Z5 II, the ZF, and the Z52 as well. And it doesn't take too long to download. And we can see now that it's doing the update. So all the files are on the camera. It's just going to do the update now and update that firmware. So as you can see, the update has now completed. So I just need to turn the camera off. And then we'll come back on, and it doesn't look any different. So shall we double check? If we come into our menu, and we can see that we're now on version 2. So it's so much easier to do it on your camera rather than having to download it onto an SD card from the website and then come in and organize it. But let's have a look at some of the new features that we've got on here. So we come into our detection. We now have a birds option. In our pixel shift shooting, we now have more options such as AE bracketing, and you can do focus shift and pixel shift. And then the other big function that we've had added is auto capture. So this is how you can set up your camera in order to take pictures when you're not there. So that's definitely something that I'm going to cover in a little bit more detail when I actually take my camera outside and have a look at it. So I think the main things that I'm going to go through are the new functions, including the new 15 frames per second setting on the burst mode, which includes pre-capture. We're going to have a look at how well the bird focus goes, and we're also going to have a look at the auto capture function and see how well that works, how you set it up and things like that. So I'm now going to attach a lens to my camera, and let's go and take some pictures using those new functions. To test out the C15 feature, I decided that I would take some pictures while making my morning espresso, of course. For a bit of context, the process of getting the coffee into the cup usually takes about 30 seconds, but that means for the different modes that we have, so the C15, C30, C60 and C120, this could be somewhere between like 450 to 3,500 pictures. So I think I did well to only take 130 of them. Not bad, eh? As you can see though, there's not a huge amount of difference in them. Even when I reframe the scene a little by taking a step backwards in my kitchen, the biggest problem I found was actually my focusing. I was using a relatively shallow depth of field as usual. I think it was f2. So any slight movements when I was holding the camera would throw things off slightly. And while this isn't too bad when you're taking a couple of photos, if you're holding your finger down and it's taking 15 per second, that's quite a lot, isn't it? But I guess it's still a lot better than if you were taking 120 a second. But that did leave me with the first 63 pictures that were actually focused on the cup rather than on the coffee. So I guess, 4 seconds worth of pictures there? The interesting thing is that the C15 is as low as kind of the extended high-speed burst. So the normal function where you get 14 to 20 frames per second, depending on whether you're using the electronic shutter or the mechanical shutter. The difference being that these are captured in JPEG in C15 mode, but you do have pre-release capture. So it will store any images when you kind of half press that shutter button. Those images are stored, so that's quite good. But the high extended mode, or whatever it's called, are captured in RAW, or, to be honest, whatever settings you've got programmed there. So you have a bit more flexibility. They're not JPEG, so you can edit them a bit more. The other new feature was the bird autofocus. So I've now had a chance to get out. I took my 180 to 600mm lens and the new firmware to see what this bird AF is like. I set myself up with 3D tracking and birds as the subject, and I took my camera to a local forest where there's a lake and things like that, so I knew there would be plenty of birds around. So let's have a look at some of the pictures that I took while I was there. And I must say, it focused really well, either on the body of the bird or on the eye, depending on how close I was or kind of where I was trying to focus. And I don't have any experience of doing this beforehand, but it certainly worked well, so I have no complaints with that at all. You can see more of these pictures on my Instagram, so you can spend a bit more time having a look at them, and pixel peep, have a look at that eye autofocus, bird autofocus, and see what you think of it. I'll also post some of the pictures of the coffee so that you can see some of the in focus ones from that too. So this is where you can set your camera up and you can get it to take pictures when something walks in front of it. I've not had a chance to check this one yet, to be honest, because I've not really thought of a use for it. But what I will do is I will report back in a future video on how well that works. But to be honest, everything that I've found in the software has been working really well. It's been really good as a software update, and I'm pleased that these options are now in there. Thank you for joining me on my photography journey. I hope you learned something from this, and I will see you again next week. Have a great week. Bye.